Commission is called to order. A motion to approve minutes from our last meeting on June the 27th, or are there corrections that need to be made?
I'll make a motion to approve as written.
All in favor?
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're rusty, aren't we? All against?
Good thing Sherry's
All right,
here.
let's approve those minutes and move on. We have people here today. Any public comments? Yes.
Or just observing.
We
They're
hope
observing.
not. Come on down and join us if you would. Do we have students? Yes. All right. Oh, all right.
So let's show him some excitement.
Yay! Well, we appreciate your interest.
Yes.
Deborah will do a cartwheel before the meeting starts.
Don't listen to her. Then I guess we'll just move on. We'll try to make this visit worth your while. Mr. McGarry isn't here. Any other new business from anyone? Okay, things are quiet in the planning department. It's a rare day.
In regards to historic preservation.
I was going to say, to have to do with us anyway.
Oh, that's right. All right then. I'm wondering, since probably the bulk of our time spent today is going to be discussing ways that we can improve our website with regard to historic preservation information and our designation markers. Should we do everything else first, if there is much of anything else to be accomplished today, or what do you think?
There's nothing else. Is there anything else
Is there anything else? I mean, God forbid if we
that's
start
why we're
dredging up
here.
other topics,
today?
Right.
we'll wander afield. But
I don't have anything else.
Let's see if I have anything else, and we can just roll it all together into one moment of mumbo jumbo.
You gotta show these.
I know they're here to see us do something.
We're going to.
Or recite a poem, Anna, or do something. I'll tell you what little thing I did recently. If you've read any material lately about Habitat, I encountered two bits of information in the news about Habitat making a departure from doing their communities, their Habitat communities, and starting to do freestanding homes, constructing from ground up and restoring houses, rehabilitating houses. So that, of course, immediately struck a chord with me. And then I encountered a nice article about their director, CEO, Andy Bowler, Mr. Bowler, in Mark Schumann's piece. And so I thought I have to go talk with them because they were already earmarking different properties. And I thought it would be a good time to make them acquainted, with historic preservation in our neighborhoods, because I thought what an ideal combination that would be to have them start doing a house that was historic, and that would just be...
Yeah, to do appropriate infill.
Yes, absolutely. So,
And there are some models for that. I know the Institute for Classical Architecture worked with Habitat up in New York, and they came up with some different house plans. This was quite a few years ago now, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So there may be some materials out there that they could look at
I was hoping you
for
would
possible
say that.
housing plans.
I don't know how many empty lots they have, and I don't know where those lots are located. We'll have to maybe find out. I'm sure they'd share that information with us. But if we could at least let them know, I did promise Mr. Bowles that I would send him information about, anything that would be advantageous about delineating better the neighborhoods, of properties that would be considered historic. And this is wandering off on a related topic, I had asked a friend of mine, a realtor, to just shoot me, and this was like post-haste before I went in to see him, some listings of properties that maybe, just to demonstrate. And this is someone that am very fond of, and I would have thought, it's been here forever, would have been well familiar with loosely the boundaries of our historic districts. Mm-hmm. And in something like this of sheets, not one was in a historic district. They were all west of town, but not one was a historic. Would be considered either from an architectural or even an address, point of view. So that demonstrates to us, I think, more than ever, that we really need to do some education, information, disseminate that, because they really need to know, not just about the ad valorem savings, but just where these houses are located.
Well, I think, you're talking about habitat right now, but you're also talking about the general public.
Right, because
and I think
at the same time, I learned that, where there definitely needs to be some.
Yeah, I think as far as the general public, without raising concern, because we know in the past there's been some concerns when people start talking about a historic neighborhood and what that means. Yeah, we might be able to talk about what are some historic subdivisions, and the dates that they were platted or something like that, and have that on the website. And that
How old do they have to be historic?
Well, to be eligible, they have to be at least 50 years or older is typical, but that doesn't make them historic. They also have to be significant. They have to be evaluated to determine whether there's still historic housing stock, a significant amount. And the National Register usually uses they like a 70-30. Sometimes you'll see a 60-40 contributing versus non-contributing. But that's National Register, and you're talking local. You can sort of
invent your own
rules,
criteria.
Criteria, and you move the borders around to try to get your concentrations as well. But I think we're just trying to guide the public on where are the areas for potential, historic buildings and neighborhoods. We could give a list of historic subdivisions without
Osceola Park.
acting as if we're going to get ready to designate these areas as districts or anything. We're just showing people the historic areas.
But I think definitely that's the first step, so at least they can look at them and know what they're looking at. Mm-hmm. All right.
Osceola Park, isn't that one that is...
Mr. Whittle, can you speak into your microphone, please?
Nationally?
Yeah.
Yes.
But what does that do to the people that have houses and lots in Osceola Park?
It doesn't do anything negative. It recognizes them as historic, so it's an honor. And then from there, any commercial built properties that are located within that district are eligible to apply for tax credits for rehabilitation. Also, from a protection standpoint, any federally funded projects that take place in or around that neighborhood may be subject to a review process, a Section 106 review process, to help mitigate any damage to the historic character of that neighborhood. For instance, you have Route 60 right there. If they were going to do a real road widening project, that they may have to submit their plans to the state for them. It may come through here and then to the state for review to make sure it won't have any negative impacts on that historic district. And then they work out a compromise from there.
Financially, it doesn't do them anything.
Well, you hope that it starts to create a little bit of stability just based on the fact that people are starting to recognize that's a historic district. A local district's going to do a lot more as far as creating that stability, because a local district sets up a review process for every improvement that requires a building permit. But yeah, National Register, it's more of an honor. Somebody can still come in with permits and demolish buildings, and they don't go through a review process necessarily. But you hope with that prestige of it being a National Register district that people will be, what's the word I'm looking for? Thwarted, won't
take more pride
But it
in
will add
ownership.
value.
Yeah.
It adds value to the existing structures.
Yes.
And that's just the daily maintenance of those properties would, perhaps,
Hopefully.
People will take more pride in them. Maybe, I don't know, from a real estate perspective, the people that are drawn to historic neighborhoods may say, oh, I'd rather buy a home in Osceola Park because it is designated. They can also get plaques like we're talking about as a local district. They can get it as a National Register district and put those on their house to say they're a contributing structure. So.
His other question, his other concern, was that they had some experience. They were interested in a home. I want to say Edgewater area, maybe. It was a neighborhood that I wasn't from. Edgewood. Mm-hmm. Wasn't well familiar with. And they said that once they had studied the improvements that needed to be made, they were led to believe that if everything that needed doing was done and brought up to the current building codes for new construction, that, quote unquote, they would be better off demolishing the building and starting over. It would have been less expensive. So Deb's here. Yay, you snuck in. Remember at the meeting when with fellows and at the CLG meeting, someone brought that very topic up and said that it was negatively impacting their business because they were principally concerned in doing historic rehabbing.
But then remember the other fellow that stood up.
So was it Len Weeks? Because
I don't remember the name, but the one fellow was on, I think, their historic board there in St. Augustine.
It's Len. I left him a message. Okay.
But he, the other fellow, because we asked for information from the other fellow that said that was misinformation, that either he had not.
Right. So that I've remembered that the whole topic ended on a hopeful note, but I don't remember exactly where he sent him.
The idea was that if you've already got the protections in place, you're not going to demolish the house anyway. And the other, going back to an earlier conversation, but the idea too was historic homes did not have to go through the same process as new construction. Now, whether that was just St. Augustine, I don't remember.
No, it's not. The Florida Building Code, in 2001, they developed a code for historic buildings. And it gives them more leeway. They're not subject to the black and white regulations that
construction.
A rehab of another home may be. For instance, egress. You're not going to insist that someone rip open a bigger hole in their historic window and take that out and replace it with a new egress window that meets current code. No, you're going to look at the whole entire project. You're going to work with your building official, and they're going to be able to make judgments on what are the best ways to ensure there's proper egress and without hurting the historic fabric of the building.
But if it doesn't concern exteriors, which I know is the usually the only element really that you're addressing, if we're talking about things like wiring and plumbing,
wiring and plumbing, that's pretty much. You're going to need to, you want to do that anyway. You want to bring your electrical up to code for safety reasons, but they're going to evaluate it, I would think, as such.
Okay. I don't think it would affect.
Same thing with HVAC.
And once you do that, we had to do that anyway with our home. It's $50 for insurance purposes, but you can do that in such a way that it doesn't affect the wall, even the interior walls. So it depends on the building, if the electrical is going to have an effect on the interior walls or even the exterior.
And what you're going to have to do, the impact. And basically you're working with your building official on that.
And two is I wondered about the ADA requirements. And because it's an older structure, they have to do certain things, but it's still recognized as an historic home. And the whole idea is to keep that structure intact as opposed to tearing it apart, like Anna said, just to comply with code. So I don't think it's any longer a concern. I mean, we have things in place now to help historic preservation committees and boards and areas actually maintain their property. But remember, you always have to consider health, safety, general welfare. As long as you're complying with that,
of course.
Then,
all right. Would you mind if I send you his email? Would you mind contacting him, sending him this information? And
can she send me my email, or does it have to come through you? It has to go through Sherry.
Okay. Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Always. Okay. And the other thing he mentioned too that I thought was lovely. One of the things I wanted to speak with them about, the Habitat Group, and they've done wonderful things here, is maybe tweaking when they're building new construction the design of their homes. You know, we had this, the blueprint doesn't have to be large, it's not square footage, doesn't have to be any more expensive, but if you look at, the best example is the Katrina Cottage collection of homes, you know, small footprint, small square footage, but nice architecture. It's very simple, but clean, attractive, aesthetically pleasing. And he mentioned to me that the School of Architecture, I guess, at IRSC, or some group of students is currently including that in their curricula to address the habitat new construction and to try to make them more aesthetically pleasing. So
I think the only thing we have to address on that is the older homes that were torn down. They were on smaller properties, and I know there's various codes in place, if I'm not mistaken, as far as size house on size lot, and some lots are actually considered too small. So in the older neighborhoods, and we talked about this years ago, the idea of how do you stay with what you've got, even though the house has been torn down. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't Tim say something about as far as the zoning within that district, specific for that district? So right now we still have to, so we'd have to make some changes to do more of what you were talking about as far as habitat to actually build on some of the smaller lots, especially like Osceola Park. So
What's your front setback in Osceola Park? Is it 25 foot?
I think so, isn't it? Well, no, whatever the current code is.
No, I mean you're existing though from your road to your house. Is that 25? Because that's what the existing code is, right? 25. So I think it's
appropriate.
I think
Well,
it
not
is.
just,
I'm
but
not sure.
well, you don't. In Osceola Park, we don't have. I think now you have to have between houses so many feet. Where with us, the lots touch each other. You can actually put your fence. It's kind of weird on the line as opposed to before. Right where anywhere now. Okay, so because it used to be you had to have like 8 to 10 feet.
Yeah, like for instance, we should look at the house next to the old Vosel house that got torn down on 21st Ave. That may be like 20. That may be closer to the road than yours is actually. So you would look at that. If that was a historic district and you were building next to it, you're going to determine what the pattern is going to be.
I understand that.
So I know what you're saying. You're thinking that today's setback may not fall in line with the setback of the houses in Osceola Park. So if it didn't, there may be an issue there. That's what you're saying.
That's the only concern I have, and I don't. And
to keep
like
the
I
consistency.
Said, but not even that. Just the idea you don't want these lots just to stay vacant either if they're too small. And that's what Tim and we were talking about this years ago.
Well, you can't have it be, as I understand, you can't have it be a taking to where somebody demolishes a building and now they're prevented from building anything on the property, like that one lot on the corner. The city would have to work, it's my understanding, the city would have to work with that homeowner.
And that's in the code now for waivers for the historic district.
Okay.
But the historic district, not other. That's what I was wondering. Okay. Because I know we've been working on things. See, there weren't things in place before. They've been working on things.
Is that for a district or for a potential historic area?
It gives the HBC the authority to waive subject
So
to
that's something
development
new.
approval process of setback, off-street parking, and loading requirements for appropriate for the continued preservation of the historic site. So it sounds like it would be taken into consideration.
Okay.
But it's not citywide, in other words.
It's
It's historic district.
Because they're usually the ones with the smaller lots.
You'd have to
The older
review
district.
it, I think.
Anyway, it's a consideration to take in mind,
Yes,
because I agree it's a great idea to, and I noticed I think the recent one in Fellsmere that Habitat just built, it looks like a variation of a cracker style. So I mean,
Well, I think the whole point is wherever they're going to put that, just like an architect would do, they would design for the context of that neighborhood. And context has to do with the siting of the other homes as well and the history. And you can't just have one standard house and
Seems
apply
simple,
it.
doesn't it?
You can't have one standard design that applies to everywhere in the city. So they could have different models, 5 different models that fit into.
Speaking of Fellsmere, I think it would be great if we could organize a little field trip out there and see Jason and the work that they're doing. They're so proud of Fellsmere. Everything they do is just spot on.
Definitely.
So I think it would be inspiring for us. All right, so any other comments there? We exhausted that topic for today. Any other members' matters before we try to
Nope.
accomplish something? All right. Is this just for our general amusement?
Is this for us to
Oh,
look
I
at?
just did the idea of, and not necessarily morning, just the idea of things that are happening, more people talking about history and wanting to try to figure out how to archive it. So, because it comes in bits and pieces.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. And thank you, Deborah, for sending us little things now and then. Some of it's really yummy. All right, so this might be a good time to ask, what is your field of interest? What is you three that we've probably put to sleep by now?
Well, I'm interning at the city attorney's office, so I'm just in my last semester law school.
Okay, just getting it out of the way. And how about you two? Your friends?
Yeah, and we are getting a government meeting knocked out for school,
I see.
and we're learning a bit about the historical society in the process.
All right, well, we hope so. This is not representative of Robert's Rules of Order. Robert is twirling in his grave right now. This is very cozy. Normally, it's not this casual.
Well, no, it's kind of a special meeting, right? We want
Yes,
to talk about
yes.
markers
This
and we
is
want to talk
extra
about the
cozy
website.
today. All right, so are we going to sit at the table, or what's our preference?
Right? Because
We
the
can't?
TVs aren't working.
Right. We don't have a camera that's catching the table right now. So.
I see.
So these will be on.
So we could all
For
sit
what?
down
We
there
can
in our
turn these on
bathing
and go
suits
to
and
the
no one would see
internet.
us.
She
You're not
wants
going
to talk
on. We're not
about
going on the internet.
Oh, these don't work at all. I thought you were just saying
We're not
that.
going on the internet.
Got it.
Right. What?
Oh, because we can't
Tammy
see our
asked you
site.
guys can let the commission can let you know what their ideas are for the website, and you work with Holt because of the Sunshine Law. It's just best for it just to be you and Holt working on the website.
Okay.
And they can give you any ideas, and you guys can see if it'll work.
And then
Okay.
20 years from now.
And we
no.
can switch, though. It doesn't have to be me. It could be another representative.
And yes, this is
working.
why nothing ever happens. That's why we see no improvements. Then someone goes mad and just randomly does something, and then, that's.
Okay, so let's. Where do you want to start with the markers?
I have a feeling we're not going to be able to spend much time on the website topic since we can't go online. I wanted to start by bringing our website up. Is that even that would be considered off
City of Vero Beach website we can't bring up.
limits?
I can bring it up if you want. I just don't want to move around on the website.
We won't, Mommy.
What do you mean move around? Like, I mean, we can
switch from website to website.
just Vero's website and the pages that exist now. That's all we're talking about. That's fine. We can talk about the marker, right?
Now, the marker, we got all those coins.
Yeah, the
So
marker
what's-
I want to do. I mean, I've got Maslow's information, and
Okay,
let's
'cause
keep them separate.
Yeah.
Go back
You
to
have
the
to go. Well, I'm not going to keep
No,
you
like
here
by
until.
11:30. I have.
Oh no,
you know.
no! I have 15 minutes max.
Yeah.
Well, man, what were the coins sent around for? Just use that as a marker.
All right, we'll do those first here.
Yeah. Why she brings this up?
I mean, we have copies. We all
All right.
saw what they look like.
Let me start over.
The only thing that comment was that it should be able to be read by at least 10 feet.
Read by 10 people.
At least, no, at 10 feet.
At 10 feet.
Oh, at 10 feet. All right.
In
so
other words, don't
I
make it so
have-
small that you can't
I
see
can
it.
show-
No,
Share
of
with
course
them.
not.
You got to go walk up on somebody's porch to
But
see
if you
what
make
this
it as
thing is
large
up
as
there.
a hubcap, it's going to cost money that no one will purchase one.
Well,
So there's that.
Well, and that's, I think I'll.
I might actually have enough
Yeah.
for.
Herb, even if you could read it at
look
10
up- we
feet,
can
if
look
most
on
feet,
it.
if most homes are 25 feet, how would you?
most what?
If most homes are set back 25 feet and you want to be able to read it at 10 feet,
Well, I'm just saying at least 10 feet.
These will be so distinctive anyway, and if we do them in gold, bronze with a gold finish, they'll be apparent even, from a distance. All right, so let me explain how we arrived at where we are today, or where I think we are today. we started off. We need a plaque. We need an icon. We knocked down all the icons that we didn't think were appropriate. Then we started thinking about using the image of a vintage palm tree, and then I, at some point, started looking on old coins for vintage palm tree impressions, and during that period, we abandoned that and decided to just go ahead with the coin, Treasure Coast, right?
No, did we abandon it, Herb? Because
Yeah,
I thought
I don't think
I
we
thought Herb and
abandoned
I we decided on a.
I
All
thought
right,
we
so,
did too.
yeah,
That's
but-
why I was
all right.
surprised when I saw all the coins.
I was too.
Yeah, I was too.
All right, so
I think we're pretty close to just the wording. I think was
Right. We're,
all right, so
but that's okay
all right,
if you brought
let's-
other ideas.
And
that was,
that's
bring
if
some-
I'm not mistaken, that was the last thing.
That
I
was
did
the
bring
last-
some other ideas.
Okay.
I thought it would be more of a this. I think when you look at the things that I've brought for you today and some of the things that I've sent you online, when you compare the last fabricated coin that we attempted to do here, you'll see that really this resembles, and even the woman at the monument company that I spoke with, Mary, that's been doing this for a lifetime, said that this one, even though it's lovely, resembles a plate. So there's nothing about the. I mean, this is pretty. I would love to
A
have
plate
this
as opposed to a coin is
as
what you're
opposed-
thinking?
Yes. So no one's going to say, "Wow, this is like Vero currency." It looks
Treasure
like a
coast.
golden plate. So yes, we could go ahead and could just use this and move on, or I want to at least show you, spend some time here on what I think would be a better tribute. Until I started researching these coins, I guess I wasn't really impressed with the fact that even though we're referred to as the Treasure Coast, there is so much gold sitting out there still underwater, and that so much of it was lost at sea, so many lives and so much, and all over this stuff, you know. So I think it's pretty significant, and that happened very early in our history. So I think to use, and we have that also, that Spanish connection. You know, these are Spanish coins.
I
They
have
really
to admit,
explored.
thinking along the line you're thinking about now, to me, it should be a sense of place. You know, and a lot of people use a palm tree. I've been thinking about it too. Do we consider ourselves a hibiscus city or not? And do we want to do it, have something more historically significant, or just kind of run of the mill like everyone else? And
I think
so,
if we're going to go to all the trouble to do this, and believe me, I've logged like a lot of time already on this, and if it's going to be forever, as close to forever as we can promise, I think we should make it right. You know, highest order, and not just put up anything.
Deb, in looking at these, and I have some Atocha coins. None of them look like this, and most of the ones that I have seen are, they don't look like this. These are pretty elaborate compared to.
Well, I tried to. Here's the thing about. Let me start. When they made these coins, they're referred to as cob coins, and so the gold or the silver began as a bar, as a rope, and then they lopped pieces off, kind of like you're making cookies,
right.
and weighed them, and then stamped them. So they were kind of like, you know, sealing wax impressions. And the only reason I started with the crucifix, the true crucifix here, is to demonstrate that edge. I thought speaking with the monument people, it would be an effective way to show them that we didn't want the plate effect.
Right.
We wanted something that really resembled a coin. And
I
that
think
particular coin.
On
Now,
this one, most of the strikes that I have seen that are good strikes are this second one.
this
on
is the most predominant.
That's
This is
and that's
considered
most people
that.
have that one.
And the interesting thing, this again, I did that to show the edge.
Right.
And the reason that they did this combed edge, notice that most of the coins that you see that are made into jewelry, etc., the cob coins were trimmed by unscrupulous people to get
Right.
gold and silver. So made them even more lopsided because people shaved them off.
Yeah,
and accumulated.
I think it would be interesting for them if we're going to do plaques to not have them be perfectly round.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
exactly.
I agree.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So moving on here, even though some of them, obviously the most expensive ones are the ones that are near perfect.
Right.
They grade them
Right.
according to their appearances. The gold ones have held up better than the silver ones, being underwater. They look like they were struck yesterday. So then if you look, okay, so the combed edge is on most of them. It still didn't stop a lot of people from trimming them. And as you see, the combing, depending on how they were stamped, and these were all made in either Mexico or Peru, I guess, where they had heaps of gold available. But that's where the mints were. And so you can tell where the coins were made because it will say, M or P on them someplace in the text, and it will also have the maker's name, among other things. Whoever was ruling at the time, lots of Phillips, and lots of mention of God, because the God and the government were very woven, to say the least. So the coin cross, the reason most of the doubloons that you see have the cross and other pieces of their currency was it allowed you an easy way to make change. If you had no other way of doing it, you just took your chisel and whack. You just followed that
Right.
as a line, and there you go. That's how it was done. The only reason I copied the next coin, which is 1 pence. That's a British piece. I love the crown. Was the finish. I thought that was just a lovely.
Well, do you think that
lovely
finish is going to be the closest to what we're going to see too?
Well, we can ask for, and the woman again that I spoke with at Erie, I thought they were rather limited in their fabricating to detail like this, but she was wildly excited and can't wait to attempt this. So when you look at all of the different pieces that were found locally in our local waters, these are from now on, from that coin on, the top one, skip the pence. The rest of them are all predominant. And the collection in the state of Florida, in Tallahassee, they have the largest collection, Atocha, et cetera. These are those coins. And then I also made a phone call to a collector, a house that markets these in, I don't know, Winter Park, I think. I've mentioned them someplace here. And
Fisher Museum.
They also, said the gold doubloon, the pieces of 8 are the predominant ones.
Right.
And in fact, when the 1715 fleet sailed here and went down in the hurricane, this was mind blowing to me. Guess how many pieces of 8 they had on board? That was my guess. 7 million pieces of 8. So, just imagine.
Deborah, just so you know, whatever I'm looking at, I don't think I have, so I'm not sure what you're
This is
referring to. But I know, but it's not the same pictures.
It's just a different.
No.
See, this is. It starts here with the cross.
Okay.
And then goes on to the.
All right. So which one are you referring to the most?
This was just as a reference for the edge.
I understand.
This one is accurate. We have many of these. That's the English one
Okay.
with the 1 pence with the crown.
Okay.
See? And then all the rest of them are typical.
And what
Okay.
are you leaning towards? The final design.
There is one coin that's referred to as the most beautiful. And if you go to the last page, you'll see this is the
With the
flip
crest.
side with the 2 pillars, and then the 2 worlds, Spain and the Americas, underneath the crown, underneath Spain's crown.
Which one does it say?
Go to the last page.
I'm on the last page.
Okay, so that all 3 of those images If you have 3 on your last page, you may have more.
Come back.
2.
Come back another one.
So if you would please just look at the last 3 images. They may be on different pages.
Or of 7.
That's what she's referring to.
This one's. Is that not extraordinary?
Anything I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I think simpler is going to be better.
We can remove as much of that as you want to. In the end, it's not going to cost any more money to put more detail in it. It's the first time they make the mold is, the most expensive part of the creative process.
What's it going to say? I mean, what part of this what are you going to say?
Well, it's up to us to decide. Again, I want to give you a minute to get accustomed to the idea of using a large version of a Spanish coin. If you go, do you have this page as well, guys? This is pirate money at the top. Ignore that. But then you have another image here that is a much simpler version. It just has a beautiful monogram of, I suppose, Phillips here, because I can see a P. Do you see a P with a crown? And basically that's it. You have a 4-part monogram, and you have a crown. Do you see it? Mm-hmm. Now,
I think it's on the last page.
I think that would really make a gorgeous plaque. So we can. I asked Annie, my daughter, who's working with that design firm in New York. She's like 2 weeks on the job, so moving into a new apartment, very busy. But she did manage to hammer these out. That'll just give you can refer to the images of the actual coins, and this just shows you how we can change all the different elements of the coin to make it more representative of a historic plaque. But I think you want to retain, some of that so that you still have that Spanish coin flavor.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'd rather see something more along the very first one. Mm-hmm. I think it's the most common. It's what people, if they have any knowledge at all about,
if they've had their eyes open,
if anybody that they know has a piece of jewelry, a pair of earrings, a ring, a necklace, or whatever, this is what they've seen.
Absolutely.
And I think that as beautiful as these other ones are, I mean, I'm looking at these going, these are beautiful. I've never seen any of these before.
They are, they are out there, but
and I'm interested. So,
and do you think there needs to be any of the
look
detail
at this.
around?
Tell me that you wouldn't
coin?
like to have that next to your front door.
Oh, I think that's gorgeous. I really do. But I think in terms of if we're trying to brand something, simpler is better.
Right.
I think Anna brings up a good point about when we first looked at them, the idea of like the little stippling around is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I was referring
some of the
to
detail.
that. Would we want to add that so it makes it look more coin-like?
Of course. I think so.
I know keeping it simple.
And I would think that they shouldn't be round.
Well,
a little irregular.
Yeah, they need to have some pieces chopped up because that's what they all look like.
And just to point out something too, the VB reminds me of like Vero Beach High School. I mean,
yeah, I don't love that logo.
It sticks in my head as far as bands.
Vero Beach Dodgers. That was the logo for the Dodgers for a while too. So
but the Vero Beach, I think it needs to be on there, but not as a VB.
What do you mean?
You spell it out.
The one with the crown.
Right.
Yeah.
That one actually looks more modern.
Well, no, this is not. We're not going to use this.
I'm just saying as an example.
Placement.
I understand that.
So the font would be the same font that they used back in the 1700s.
Well, and I think too, if you're going to say instead of historic preservation, I think if you do City of Vero Beach, I'd recommend do like historic landmark or historic register or something like that, so it shows that it's an actual registered property because that's what these are for.
I think that's a good idea.
That's fine. Make a note of that. We just did that because we needed to fill that space with something.
I'm just.
You mean number 4?
Yes, number 4.
It's a historic. I think landmark is a good.
And so, do you want to retain? I mean, you might want to leave King Philip off, but do you want to retain anything else? I mean, they have the De Gracia on there, the Grace of God, the DG. I mean, those are all things that lend an authentic touch to those coins.
I think you'll probably get some pushback.
Well, yeah, there is separation
I'm
of
not-
church and state.
Right.
So, I mean, you've already got a cross. So,
It's not a crucifix, though.
But
it's
yeah.
just a-
if people are familiar with
So
the
if we're going to be
coins,
sensitive to anything that looks like a religious icon, should we go with the cross?
that's something
I mean,
to
we know-
think
That's a
about.
good question. Yeah, I was
Crowns-
sort of looking at number
Crowns
4.
have
If
universal
you got
appeal.
number,
Because
if
I
you
have
got
the
number
shield
4 and you
and-
put that thing in the middle of it,
Yeah. It's less because it has the shield and that. I
Right.
think the shield
shield is
helps
better.
it. You're talking about the shield. Put the same cross that's in number 1. Put it in the shield of number 4. Is that what you're suggesting?
So you're talking about mixing images? No,
What about-
the only reason a
This
cross
is-
appears on the shield there is because this is the Habsburg shield, guys. Is it's divided into 4 portions. So you have the
Exactly.
2
The
lions
4
and the
houses.
2 houses of Habsburg there. You have
So
the
that
2
may be
castles.
less suggestive of a religious symbol to a number 4, but then it's still there as well.
But it's
To
not
about
reflect
putting
the
the-
crown.
8-in-1 real seal in that one.
Yeah, that's like a coat of arms. Is what I get the impression of a coat of arms, and that makes me think of the coins. And
Yeah.
It was usually royalty that minted it, so that makes sense.
Put that in there. Without the crown.
I think you're right. I think the shield would be less controversial.
oh, I see. Even here, really, this is almost like a coat of arms because if you look at that second, it's coin cross. I guess it has their family symbols and in between here,
Right. I think this is.
which you may want.
She hasn't included all the elements. This
Right.
is just where you would
Some wording, I
replace.
guess.
Yes, replace their text.
And I
with
think as far as their regularity, just like you were showing, what was this, the Phillips coin?
slightly irregular.
They'll be able to do that if there is something. What did you call it again? Around the
Stippling.
edge, the stippling around the edge. You know, once that becomes kind of a regular
Combing.
combing.
Some of them, most of the ones that are bought and sold are hugely irregular, like this one.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Stacey,
do you think it
yours
should be that
probably.
irregular?
No, mine's pretty round. I mean, but a lot of them that I've seen they're like pieces.
Oh,
carved
yeah.
You know,
out.
yeah,
No,
they've
you're
been
right.
take a
But
piece
again,
out
I
there,
think
piece
if
out
you
there.
make that into a 9-inch piece, it's going to look like a thin crust pizza.
Right. Yeah, I'd rather see
So-
it more round, but not perfectly. Like how this is. I mean, I
Right.
think that's kind of
Right.
interesting. Or even this. This almost looks like ware, but it
Well,
isn't.
this is what we're trying to avoid. We don't want it to look like it
No,
came from
'cause
some
it looks-
civic organization.
Right.
Not
Right. It's a state
Yeah,
plate.
yes, you're
that
right.
Grandma
It's more like a
collects.
seal.
Yeah.
It sounds like we need to decide on a center point, whether it's the cross or the shield, and then what goes around that.
And I want to, and here is a good picture of the shield.
Do we have that one?
Just
No.
start this at the
I
end and
think
just
you
read
do
through
in a
this. Most
small
of the coins that are representative
Like
of
there's a twin
Spanish
pillar
coins are
symbol.
nicked. I have a
But there's a few
marking on
examples
them.
in the smaller versions too.
Oh, that's what she's calling the Philip. All right. Okay.
We don't want to be
Well, I was thinking somebody recognizable, but then when you add the whole religious factor into it, then there's going to be
just like
somebody.
this. Put this in there.
We're not going to
Number
make
4.
everybody happy.
No.
Put that in there.
But
Right.
we can
Just leave it
certainly
like that.
we can certainly avoid those issues by leaving off anything that looks
yeah.
overtly religious.
I think just doing that
Right.
in there.
Well, but I think this one's really the most beautiful. I think that's interesting too.
What is that one called?
The front side of it. It's the crown with the 2 worlds.
Oh,
It's not quite so
on the
busy,
last page.
so I think there would be visually you're not going to be fighting. The image is not so complex that you don't see with the writing. Does that make sense?
Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, if you look at the sealed Coral Gables, they use the shield and the cross, they turn the cross into a palm tree.
Which is the crown? Which one?
You've seen the Coral Gables one. And they actually make theirs locally out of ceramic too, which is
so it's
very cool.
Are those worlds?
two worlds.
Well, we don't want to copy them, but yeah,
Well, but
I'm happy that they allow
Guidelines.
themselves to think outside the box on that, because I've never encountered any other place that dared do something that was such a departure from the usual monument.
Well, and their
That's really
architecture has a strong Spanish influence there
Right.
as well.
I'm not sure the two worlds everyone would get.
Probably not. It was just, I like the way that it was laid out.
It's a neat
Because it
idea.
gives you
Yeah.
there is some open space, so it's going to draw your eye up so you
Yeah.
can actually see what it is.
So back to Anna's, and I agree, the simpler the better. But again, also choosing a center and then moving out from that. That sounds like more of what we're trying to decide. We kind of all agree on the outside of the coin, but it's the inside. So start from the center out. Decide on a center and take it from there.
Right. So, and then also, how much of a departure we want to make from an original historic design. If we change it too much,
Then it's
might as well go back to our
unrecognizable.
palm tree.
I know.
So I really
I'd rather stay on the path
I feel
we're
like
on now.
each of these is a masterpiece, and I feel bad tinkering with them at all, even putting Vero Beach on there or a V and a B.
When you start
Well,
to
except
do
we
that,
gotta
so
do
it's
that.
still going to look like a coin, and then if it could look like a coin, but then is that going to achieve the goal that we're trying to accomplish? So
Well,
What about the two pillars simple, which has the shield, the crown, and two pillars?
This one here?
It's this one
Yeah,
right here.
That was my favorite one. It's a little less detailed, a little
Right,
less
it's a
elaborate.
little cleaner. So I think that would. I mean, some of these are they're so detailed and they're so beautiful, but I don't know if
Talking about this
Which one are you
historic-
talking about?
It says two pillar simple. On mine, it's
10K.
page 2.
that's fine. And then you would do like number 3 and have City of
right
Vero
here, right?
Beach and the date at the bottom. Do you think?
Yeah,
I don't know if you could get that above the crown. The crown comes to nearly the.
Oh, because you're doing the crown. Yeah, I see.
Yes.
Would you have you just have a date then for the building date, right?
You would have a building date.
And then there would be what kind of, and would you have any words on there? Right now it says this.
Yeah, she
Are we just going to
neglected
do
put
the
crown
building
on this
date, or are
one.
we going to do circa? So, because not everything is quite so accurate.
I don't know if it's necessary to put.
If you
circa.
have
We-
an exact building date, then you put that. If you don't, then you then use the circa. That's pretty
Around.
much the form.
not
Yeah.
around.
Was that a separate attachment, or is that part of it? The date? Because how are you going to make one mold and change the date?
Oh, it's separate when you order your.
So you
Right.
get the one plaque and then the date down below.
Exactly.
Yeah,
No, the date is on the plaque,
The date would change.
but the date changes. That's the only portion of the plaque that's different. They have to personalize it per plaque. Same design, but they do
so everyone
change.
is made separately.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think if we're going to talk about shield and crown, adding the columns might be, it's nice, but it might be a little full. So I'm
Take
thinking,
those off to the shield and crown.
what I'm thinking is my page 5 of 7, the bottom, it's kind of a greenish on the yellow paper.
The first
It's
one.
got the crown and the shield, and the writing's a little larger.
Hers is this one.
One that says very nice.
If we're looking for cleaner and simpler and easier
No,
to read.
it's
MRGUIP.
yes.
Large cap Q.
What numbers it got next to it?
It's a 15.
15K.
K.
They all do.
It's like Mr.
15K.
Quip.
You know, it's-
But you have these
It's a
makers.
greenish color.
The edges, Deb, are makers marks, and then that's a 2-piece. So you do have, would we put put something there, some kind
That's
of adornment,
also
or would we
15K.
put the
Yeah,
date
all
there?
Kind of 15K.
You know,
Yes.
we'd have to do the date. You know, like this.
Are you looking
How
to
many
imitate a
thousand
coin
they
exactly?
No,
As
it's
close
the
as we
size
can
of
if
the
we're
file.
taking our cues from a coin. If what
That's
we're
gonna
doing
be
here is
tough.
acknowledging that this was an important part of our history, and if it's a nod to that history,
Well, then are you going to pick English or Spanish coins?
well, Spanish.
Since we became
'cause
American. I mean, English, more English speaking.
Spanish coins are on the bottom of the ocean, love. That's what we're talking about
Yeah, it's just
here.
going off the Treasure Coast, and
That's going to be tough trying to figure out. Because well, then the twin pillar simple is the one that's got the writing and everything on it as close to what we were talking about. When Stacy was talking about. Is it Stacy?
I think so.
Now, what are you going to put writing on this?
Where exactly where the writing is. That's the
I
whole
think we need
idea.
another visual, is what it is. I
I think, Deborah, if you had said that, because I was thinking of modifying.
We're going
but-
another direction.
Okay, so just today, why don't you give me some indication of which ones that you're most in favor of? And I'm hearing that it's
Well, I think number 4, you got to put the writing that's on number 4.
so the twin pillar simple. That was the first one that we went for, right? Which is this one.
I have to see it. I
I have to buy you the coin.
Well, to me, it's either that's going to look like a coin. I think it's beautiful, but how does that show that this is a historic landmark? That's what I can't visualize.
The date would appear
or
at
maybe
the bottom.
just that image. Is that what we're looking at? That when you see that image on a building, maybe we're just going to get
because
used
it
to
hasn't,
seeing.
it
oh,
hasn't been
that's
trademarked.
I think
yet
that's gonna
as
be-
our-
That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. I'm trying to.
I think
get
that's what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
What ends up happening,
Okay.
and
So it's less important that it's more the image. It's less important the words. It's what you guys are trying to.
right.
So you're not going to put the words on
got
it. You
it.
just put the symbol.
Getting it.
No, there's going to be words. It's just in line with
We'll
what the
either
coin.
put some version of, initials for Vero Beach. And
Well,
I don't
think
I don't
you
even
need-
know
I don't
that
think
that's
anyone-
You need to put
necessary.
something like this.
you
Yeah,
don't.
I don't even know that that's necessary. I
It's
think if you,
understood.
if you
If the
brand
date
it
is on
as there's a logo that has to be established.
Yes,
and then
I
it's
agree.
just going to have a date on it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that is so much easier than
Yeah.
trying to fit all these words in.
So
we already
nothing
know we're in the
about-
city of Vero Beach.
Like, see your wording on you have a VB somewhere in there. You come up with. Because what else are you going to put? You're going to put wording on it, right, to make it look like a coin. Or no.
But then we can be here for days and weeks trying to decide what words.
know,
So
I know.
I love it. I would love to retain some of
Well,
the
can
original.
you ask her to mock up
wording.
one like where you were going with this, and then maybe we'll mock up one with some wording, and then we can look at.
All right. So just for today, we like the twin pillars and the Habsburg shield with the crown, and then what was the other one that we were?
Actually, the back side of the most beautiful is pretty also. Most beautiful too. On mine, it's 7 of 7, the last one, because it's the shield with the crown. Mm-hmm. It's a little more full, it looks like.
The one that doesn't have the combed edge.
84K.
Correct. Well, it has sort of a combed edge.
It has kind of a notch.
It's like a scallop.
It has a notched edge.
Yeah.
So let me understand the direction we're going in. The idea is to pick a coin, pretty much imitate it, and are
And
we
you
saying
like it.
anything about historic preservation?
We
Vero
might not
Beach?
be.
I
We
don't
might
think
not
it's
be.
necessary.
Right, and I see what you're
So
saying.
if that's the case, see, that's what I want to understand
Somebody
because
coming
that's
up to
not
replace how they
what
gonna
we've
know
been
what-
talking about.
We have the power.
No, I
to make
understand
this
that, but
decision.
it's
Something that evolves.
And if you look, if you spend some time
This little town where I
examining,
live in West Virginia, they have a very serious historic area. I mean, it's
just go ahead.
practically every house in the little town. It was, established in like
Hold
the
that thought.
1600s or something like that. But
an
it's
exciting
just
topic.
a plaque. It is just a plaque, and they're all the same shape. And inside that plaque, it has the year the house was built, circa, and the year they think it was built, and that's it.
Thank you.
And it's very. It's when I first started
see
going
the
there, I'm
gamut.
like, what are these?
Yeah.
I thought they were house numbers, But then there were 2 house numbers, and then I kind of, looked around and realized, oh, wait a minute, all these houses have the same plaque, and they're all different numbers. Oh, gee, and it says Circa on a couple of them. Must be when they were built. Duh. So, I mean, it becomes, I think you don't have to spoon feed people necessarily. They just have to get used to something.
If we're going to
And it
do,
will get
Then
people
you
to
gotta put on there at
question,
least
too.
the date.
The date the
Some-
house was built.
that
Yeah,
date
yeah.
the
The
house
date
was built.
absolutely
The
will
date
be
the
there.
house was
That's-
built, or circa, it could be C period,
If you look at plaques from other places, you will see plaques that have an entire page of information on it.
which,
Or you will see plaques that have almost nothing, that are very spare looking and
It's just a
clean.
logo.
So it's entirely up to us.
Okay.
Whatever suits the community, our history, that is going to be enduring. I mean, I think our responsibility is to create something that that we're not going to get tired of looking at, and something that people will take great pride in having on their
Right.
homes. I mean, it's going to be a status symbol of sorts.
it becomes that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It does become that. We're just in the beginning of it. We don't have anything like that around here. So I think that will
You could
evolve.
play with the wording, but I lean more towards the twin pillar. If we're going to make it look like a coin, I lean more towards the twin pillar symbol.
And I think that has universal appeal. I think everyone knows what a heraldic crest is, and I think people will be more compelled to embrace that design, to want to put it on their house rather than something that maybe looks.
And it can have more of this
Religious.
decoration on the outside.
Yes.
I'm fine with that. And obviously, if the more that it's not uniform, the more it's going to look like a
Coin-like.
coin. So
It's a
that's
shame
that's
they
my 2 cents.
didn't do a better job of drawing castles. That kind of looks
I
like
know.
something that came out of the kindergarten class.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that would have been great. Every man's home.
okay, and I'm guessing on the website we would just educate the public by them knowing what that stands
Absolutely.
Well, and people are going to ask the question, well, what is that? And then,
You would hope, but-
it may start a whole.
It's representative of a
for.
Spanish
I don't
coin
think
that was
people
found
ask
right
enough
off of our
questions,
coast.
so it'll be interesting.
I think we need to do some sort of a ceremony when we place the first one. And
Sure. But I mean, there will always be, like you said, well, what is that? What does that symbolize? What does that mean?
Great opportunity for a conversation.
I think so.
I hope so.
I think that you guys sold me
yay! All
Next.
right.
once I finally got it.
So we will come up with a design. I guess we'll show it to council just to make sure they don't.
But we still have to. You're going to come back with
Yeah, we've
what?
got a
2
ways to go.
maybe? Yeah, 2.
So pick the
Two or
two
three.
again. This one and
So the
You'll
2-pillar
clarify.
symbol.
Sorry, go ahead, Sherry.
I was just going to ask if you clarify for me which ones you're discussing.
Okay.
okay. The twin pillar simple.
I still like the most beautiful backside.
That's gorgeous.
I think that's pretty.
I know.
Do we have that one?
I got
here?
one question on this one. What are you gonna do with
That's
it?
close.
That's
Dead
it
center.
without the pillars.
Oh,
What are you
with
gonna do with the dead
crosses,
center? And
That can be something else.
The
take
dead
something-
center.
Yeah,
Looking
there's
for
3
it.
crosses which you can't put on there.
Where? Oh, the
Yeah, the Father, Son, and
Right
Holy
there.
Ghost.
I
This
don't-
one. Yep, that's the twin pillar symbol.
That's the twin pillar.
To me, that's just a decorative, heraldic cross. That doesn't.
then
That
They can
doesn't
be,
look
you know what?
overtly.
Which is
they
the
can be
second one?
fleur de lis.
Yeah, they can be
They
fleur de
can be
lis.
fleur de lis and not.
Yeah, we'll do that. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay, if I'm not mistaken.
This is the
My wife would like that.
Good
most
one.
beautiful.
And they're on there
too.
anyway.
And they're on there. It would
Most
be
B
some of
grade.
them
That's the
seen,
one
so we're
Stacy
modified a little
Maker's
bit.
marks.
But I like this most beautiful too. The back side of it with the
that's a
crest and the
different
crown. It fills this in nicely.
That is
That's
the other
this
one. In
one.
fact,
That's
show,
this one.
Yeah,
And you know
show
what? And it
Stacy
could
the
be
large
like
one
a-
that you just held up because that is the one she's.
like my house was built in
Talking about.
1929. It could be like this.
Like this one.
Stacy already sees one on her house. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is. Sorry, you're in the dark down there, but this is the one that we're referring to. Would you want this next to your front door?
Yeah, that's pretty.
It's beautiful. But I think where these, you've got the letters and the numbers on either side, and actually that looks like an infinity to me. which is kind of
That means it's an 8. It's a doubloon.
I would love the infinity, but instead of having those there, maybe it's it's going to be 19 because it's
made in
Florida.
Mexico,
right?
And this is the guy that stamped it.
Right, but that's not going to mean anything on your house.
No, I know. I'm just
but to
pointing
use
it
that
out to you.
space and do 19 and
same
like
one.
for my house it's 29, so 19, 29, and leave it really simple.
Yeah.
Because this is very vertical, so to fill out on the sides you need to.
You don't think the wording though helps make it look like a coin?
I do. I think we can
my
add some coins.
hesitancy.
Yeah, I think we can add some wording in, and maybe we can determine.
Like even
What's
initial,
gonna
like
fit.
the initial, something. Yeah, we'll have to play with that.
Right.
I think it should be all of our names compressed into the border.
I was waiting for that.
On the back.
Particularly mine, right?
I was reading that. Okay, so is that what we decided now? Those two? Or are you still interested, Stacy, in the most B grade one?
I
think
warn
it's
you
what's
guys,
above
the
it.
Actually,
Look at
the
these.
backside. It's the
Where you want
backside.
them
It's
all.
not the two worlds. It's the backside, which is
The
actually what you
backside.
just showed
I want
me.
to get in a
I'll
boat
cross
with
that.
them.
Yeah, it's
Go
the
somewhere.
backside.
Which ones are we looking at now?
Most
it's
beautiful
this one.
84K.
That's the
Yeah, the 84K.
Okay.
very. That's the close up of it. Yeah.
Did you did look at
And
these
then-
already,
I
didn't you? I passed
Yeah.
these down to you.
They're good. I just passed that one.
So the twin pillars simple, which is
that's that one.
10K,
Yeah, twin pillar simple.
and most beautiful 84K.
And you're going to somehow show the date
Right.
somewhere.
Right.
And maybe some wording.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, the wording is the kicker.
CVB, go to CVB, HPC or HPL, Historic Preservation Landmark.
So you want
Leave
us
that
to
up
look,
to you.
Deborah, you want us to look at those two and give some more thoughts on it at the next meeting? Is that the idea?
No, I want to wrap this up.
You want it now? Okay. Are we Vero Beach isn't on it at all? We're just going to do the stamp coin and a year of the house or the year of the
No,
city?
we're not sure. They may add some lettering to it.
We're discussing that now.
Okay, because I know originally you wanted to stay with almost an exact replica of a coin.
I think they are lovely like that. But
They're lovely, but you got to make sure that people know what they're for.
well, they will.
They will. It will be. The more that
But
get
if you
put
don't
on
put a
houses,
date, if you don't put a date on there, how
Date's
are they
going
going
to
to
be on there.
They've gotta have a
That's-
date.
Yeah,
We're
they
not
gotta have a
arguing
Date's
that
going
point.
to be
Date.
there.
Date's
And do you
gonna be
think the
there.
date's going to go around the image or like you were showing?
I think it depends on which one
Which one,
it
yes.
is, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I just thought because of the way that
So you'll
This
bring that
one with the
feedback
crown
back
and
to
the-
your daughter. Is your daughter going to do this? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes.
And she'll sketch
While she's crying.
two
No.
based on the two images.
Okay, that's what I
That
thought.
we,
And the other thing is,
some
I'm-
with wording, some without.
I'm trying to really keep the cost down on this, and the most expensive part of fabricating is the design phase. And she's Mary, the wonderful woman at Erie Monument, is going to send me the program that they want it done in, and then I'm going to try to get someone to do that because it's $58 an hour if they do it. And then that'll just really make it nominal. The other thing is, I think it's important for these to appear on the city properties that are locally designated.
yes,
And
on everything.
do we need to somehow work that into a budget, or how are those provided for?
I'd have to ask him that.
It's a budget request.
Right, that would have to go through the city manager and city council.
I would say she could play around with some lettering, like city, Vero Beach, CVB, something, historic preservation landmark, or just historic landmark, or
Right,
know,
to make them look a little more
something.
authentic.
well, just to have some. If you're going to put some lettering, but you don't want to put Spain or Hispania, or then maybe we play around with something that we already have. And if it looks goofy, then obviously we won't do it. But she can play around with it. I can't visualize it.
I don't think it'll look goofy. I hope not. But if you would, Anna, just put we want it to look balanced. So if
Right.
you would just put down different things that you think would be appropriate, like you've begun doing
yeah,
there.
that's what I'll do.
But as far as writing things out in their entirety, do that as well there, so that if she has to take portions even of,
exactly,
do all of one and then abbreviate the other or whatever would fit. But
so I'm writing down, historic landmark for the record, historic landmark, city of Vero Beach, that kind of thing.
If we pick the one with the shield, is the idea that what's ever within that shield on that coin is going to stay as it is? Or are we putting anything? All right.
I
would
want
change
to
the
tamper
center.
with it.
I would think
like
it's the center and make that a fleur-de-lis.
Yeah, maybe just that, but keep the castles, keep the lions. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone will be offended by castles and lions. Blush.
Excuse me.
Awfully pretty.
Okay.
All right, I think
We're getting somewhere.
we're getting
All right,
somewhere.
the website's up. What are we looking for there?
Yeah, the only other way we could have done this, like Saratoga does an oval plaque, and then they have just a little thing in the middle at the bottom, a decorative. It's like someone carrying, I don't know, balls of fire or something. I don't know.
It's probably circus.
So we could also do something like that, just a regular plaque, and then just use a coin, to decorate it. It would look like a button or a doorbell maybe in the middle of the thing. But to me, it's not going to have the impact.
No, I think we're on the right track. I think we're good. Okay. If everyone is in agreement, I think.
Excellent.
I'm
Even if
open
we
to
needed
it.
to make a motion, I would say yes.
I think we're fine. I don't think anyone's going to forget or remember this differently. And we still have to go back to this. So next meeting, I'll have those for you. Or if I have them beforehand, we can email them about, and that'll shave off some time. All right. Okay, we're ready to talk about our website. And Anna, I don't want you to think that I'm being critical at all of the work that you've done, because it's immense, I can tell. But I noticed there was even a mention last week in the paper on the editorial page about Fellsmere. Everyone is doing this, is trying to make it more user-friendly, more inviting. And if you think about it, what we're really trying to do is sell the concept of historic preservation and invite participation. And so you have to create that initial interest so that people will look. And then you cannot make it so convoluted and complex that they get down to like the number 3 of 15 and go, oh, forget it. This is too hard. And in fact, what I wanted to do today was an exercise where I had divided you into 2 groups and gave you different addresses with 2 different situations where you would have to do research on 2 properties as someone who was getting involved with a historic property, just so that you could be the homeowner and to see what it would be like coming in as someone who's not initiated, and to see how overwhelmed you would get by trying to follow the present directions and still come up with the information that I requested of you, kind of like a treasure hunt, like a scavenger hunt. So.
Well, that's, if you're going to change the purpose of the page is to learn how to research your historic building. Is that what you're coming in, you have a historic building and you want to know how to designate it? Is that?
I think that's what we're trying to do here is we want the neighborhoods and we want individual designations.
What I did was talking about, obviously the text can be very academic and that can change. The original thought was to grab people with images, because right now there's not a lot of interest that I know of about historic preservation. Not a lot of people who are aware of the program or aware of Vero's history. So my initial thought, I'm just going to tell you and then you can mold it however you want it to be. I'm not defending it, I'm just going from there, was let me try to put up these historic photos to grab people in. They're going to look at the photos, okay? That may bring them in. But a bunch of information about designation, tax exemption was not going to bring them in. So that's where I went with it. And all I did was outline each page based on, like archaeological sites, historic, local designations, National Register, and obviously here's an overview of our history. I don't have any problem with changing it. I just would suggest that, like you gave the example of West Palm Beach, they have had a historic preservation ordinance for several years and a very successful active program. They designate buildings without the owner's permission. It's very active and moving along, so they don't need to grab people as much.
But yet their site is, I think, more grabby than ours.
Okay. I don't think so, but okay.
I'd like to, if you don't
grabbing, no, because all I saw, and maybe I saw the wrong thing, I saw 2 pages of a lot of text that was like, I saw some pictures at the top and I saw a lot of text. I thought there was some more user-friendly language. I did in that way. And in the designation part, detail, yes, and that can be changed. You can change this any way you want. It's not going to hurt my feelings.
No.
I'm just thinking it was more streamlined. But that's why I guess I just was like, let me put some historic photos so people can really see that we have historic buildings and we have history.
But the other thing about historic photos is even this. Mm-hmm. I look at that and I go,
where was that?
No, I look at that and I go, big yawn. That's yesteryear. That's when, my great-grandparents were here or whatever. And that doesn't stimulate me.
Okay.
That doesn't, it's like, okay. What would be more compelling would be to have a really beautiful, like, Spanish Mediterranean home that has been completely restored right there in its glory. So that you look at it and you go, that's really gorgeous. Mm-hmm. That's really gorgeous. That's an old home that is really gorgeous. Not you look at this and you go, well, I guess they bulldozed that. Good thing. That looks kind of tired, black and white.
But
it is gone.
But I don't think we're here to learn about the history to that extent. We're here to deal with it today.
Okay.
And I think you need to.
Well, I don't know that I'm going to have time to work on this, so I think because you have the vision. Well, you have this vision of where you want to go with it, so I think you need to sketch that out. I can do some of the work with the city.
Where is our
right now? I just
go to our.
That's why I did this. It was like
homepage. Where's the homepage for the city?
The homepage for the city.
In the meantime, while Sherry's doing that, I have a suggestion. You're saying, Deborah, as far as current, but I also understand.
I'm sorry, honey. You have to leave the room to get it.
No, she has to go down.
She has to go downstairs.
We're regulated.
The idea is that a lot of us do understand the history and appreciate the history, so it does interest me. So you're trying to attract a large audience, not a real focused. So the idea, I think, of a combination, and pictures are a great draw.
Oh, I'm not saying away with this at all.
If I may, the idea was, especially since we're finding out more people are visual learners and attracted to visuals, I think a combination of such. But as far as I also think if they're really interested, we need to attract their attention. Anna's right. Once you've got their attention, and I'm not sure how the website works, you would send them to a different site where they would look into either the audience. If they're actually interested in doing this, then you're going to have to send
links.
them
so they
to
can have a link
links.
to go to if they want to
Right.
designate or they want to know about the tax.
And there are links.
But I think the initial idea is you want to grab their attention.
Reorganized. So
You want to get them interested, and this sounds neat, and then they take it from there. That's what most people do with web pages anyway.
Absolutely.
So, and if we're trying to do the simpler, I'm just not sure how the city does it. If we can go to the different links within the city as far as the ordinance and P&Z and whatever, but.
That's exactly what I was trying to demonstrate, is that we don't need mass loads of information at first blush.
Maybe one of the
just
pages,
need
but
powerful, concise.
Okay, well, just sketch something up of what you want to see, and they can do it. It's not.
I've never seen this before. This is our homepage.
right.
And the other thing, though, on another note, I think if somebody's going to designate their building and they're interested in the program, they need to meet with Gail. They need to meet with Gail or Tim, right?
Right.
You're available to them, and they're going to explain the program.
But for someone that has just heard, you just went to lunch
Yeah,
with
and they want to
someone,
go look. Let me read
so
about
they're gonna
their
go here
preservation
first.
program. Mm-hmm.
And to get further excited. So when did we put this up? I don't even.
That's the homepage.
Yes,
It's been
that's
on.
the
Yeah.
homepage.
I don't remember seeing that fluctuating image here.
Something what, like in the last 8 months or something.
So can we put some of our images in there of historic homes, some of our more important historic homes, or
We'll have to ask.
do we have to have the just marina pictures and what is that under the bridge?
The bridge.
Pelicans. Spanish moss. No, I love them. Doesn't everyone? I
agree. I think that some of our historic buildings should be added to that slideshow.
Absolutely. And
Existing
so
ones.
on this page, you're not going to get to us or any mention of anything historic unless you go to departments
where
or
you're going.
direct. Well,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's very
Board,
frustrating.
So can we not on that sidebar just put something like, "Is your home historic?" or something, just to.
Have to ask.
That's fine. Whatever you're doing, I'm going to
Okay.
put in there. So.
Well, even if it's just historic preservation information, because then people, it's more in keeping with what the city has, because the whole idea is it's an information page and it sends you where hopefully you want to go. So if you can click that on and get information,
Right.
it's just an
Yeah, I
addition
just
to
think-
their list.
I think rather than have
Yeah,
someone.
if they're willing to.
Right. Because if
Wade
you scroll
through.
down further, there's like electric, there's some other things on there. So I think they've got rec on the other side. So it just, no willingness to add us, basically.
All right. Any other ideas?
Does it matter what pictures you want up there?
Yes,
Yes,
it does.
very,
Then that
very
we
much.
would need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll,
so
we'll,
pick
we'll
out.
get you some. And also on that note, is there one street in either neighborhood that boasts the highest number of homes that still have the historic architectural integrity? Would have the highest number of homes that you would
I
want
don't
to
have
see.
that figured.
But we could
diagram.
We could come to that conclusion, couldn't we? Take a little spin, a little drive by, and
Oh, you go off your survey, and I would do it. Sorry, I would do it very academically and professionally. So,
Before
that's
you-
going to take time. I don't just do a visual and go and guess. I would, work off my survey, which we don't have an updated survey, and we need one. That's the goal.
That was one of
should
the
be
things-
goal, is
right,
to
that's
get
one
our
of the
city
things we
to
talked about,
update our
wasn't it?
historic survey to apply for a grant this next grant cycle to update
Once we're
the city's
CLG.
historic
We'll lose.
survey.
Actually, we're going to lose our time if we don't. So I would. Is it?
Won't be till next year.
yeah, we can't.
But
do
I
it
mean, as far as
until-
planning and getting the survey done. Oh, so in other words, we have to wait and apply
If
for the
we're gonna
money
use
to
grant
do. So
money,
we've got to
yeah.
wait till next year.
it's forever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yes, you can come up with what you would like to do to get
Get it
direct
started.
people towards the historic areas. I think that's what you're trying to accomplish.
I am. I'm thinking if there's at least one street we could focus on to start.
And what are you thinking with that?
I'm not
One
sure,
street.
but I just figured there had to be one.
Well, it doesn't have to be the one with the most. You can pick a street with with historic buildings. You
Well,
don't have
I
to
think-
say this street has the most in the city.
But then it would be the most valuable from a preservation standpoint.
I don't know.
Not necessarily.
Not if there, yeah, I was going to say not if there's a huge Walmart in back of it or something. I'm just saying, just because it has the most historic buildings on a particular street.
It also depends on
I think
the
it would
I
be
think
more
we're
the
trying to
neighborhood.
condition of the
Put
homes
yourself
at the
into-
moment. Because if you're trying to sell it and a lot of the homes are not in good repair, that's
Well, no,
Not
that would
gonna
be part
help.
of the, part of identifying the street because.
I can't.
I know,
visualize
but a
where
lot
you're
of people
going.
already think it's. But see, we're in the trade, so a lot of people already think that it's expensive to renovate a home. But it really depends on how you do it and what you're looking at and what needs to be done. So,
course, so-
I think we still have to get back to our original mission of education. If you really want to interest people in what we're doing, I think we need to do. I think that needs to be a part of it because
Yes.
they're not going to want to restore homes or care if that home is still standing if it's too expensive to maintain or or bring it to.
And I think if you have people that are interested in designating their homes, they've expressed interest to you, somehow we need to make the connection of them coming in and talking to Gail about really getting their homes designated, what it means, or talking to us if they don't feel comfortable coming to the city. We can grab people at the website. You can improve the website too, so it's more user-friendly information. They get what they need right there. One-stop shop. If that's what you're trying to accomplish, is what I hear, right?
What?
That you want them to be able. Somebody's interested. They should be able to go and figure out how they can designate their historic buildings or what it means to be designated to.
I think we should have something there that either creates that initial interest or adds to it so that they are compelled to come in and talk to Gail or do whatever.
Okay.
That's all. Short and sweet. And
or are you willing to come up with some ideas, some design ideas to do that?
Sure.
I mean, I'm limited. I'm not a web designer. I just,
Well, I will.
If you give me some suggestions, I'll be glad to help. We can't talk obviously about it individually, but
That's fine. I think we've made some progress here. All right, we're at that. I know, Anna, you have to leave in a few moments. Anyone have any other thoughts before we? Oh, we have to set our next meeting, I believe. We don't?
no.
Okay.
Not unless you think we need to follow up with the marker and keep that
No, I'm going to try to handle
that
all
through
that
email.
via email.
moving. Okay.
Yeah, what you can do is when you get the information that you want, you can call me. We can set up a meeting. So until you have it, there's no sense in meeting.
Okay. I'll miss you guys. All right, have a happy summer. If there's no further comment, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Goodbye.